Hello and welcome to the Wellness Journey podcast with me, Rhi Bowden.
And me, Suzanne Williams. And today we're joined with a fabulous guest, Penny from Pobren Wellbeing, to have a fantastic episode about life lessons.
Yes. So would you mind sharing, a little bit about yourself, Penny, with our listeners before we start?
Yeah, of course. So a little bit about me. So I'm from South Wales, living in South Wales, but I guess I've got a sort of mixed journey that isn't very conventional, and I went through school to university, trained to be a doctor, trained to be a psychiatrist, and all that time I was really anxious, but didn't really realise I was really anxious. So this kind of chronic feeling of just unease, of going into panic, of just not being really sure about anything, really hypervigilant. But I thought it was normal. And so I just continued with life, really. And then one day, an advert came through my door to go to a yoga class. I'd been to yoga when I was kind of 18, and I thought it was pretty boring. I'd lay there thinking, don't know what I'm doing, it wasn't that hit thing that I was looking for, absolutely. And so I thought, well, I'll go to this. So I went along with some friends. Oh my God, it changed me. It was a phenomenal teacher. Wow. And I think it was the type of yoga that was right for me. And I kept going back and back and back. Then this lady...
And what age were you then?
So I was in my mid to late 30s.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was, I'd lived a long life with anxiety.
Yeah.
And then this lady started coming to my house to give me some one-to-one yoga because I was just loving it. And I talked to her about her path to become a yoga teacher. And I said, I could never do that. I'm not flexible enough. I can't do that. I can't do the splits, all of the usual things that people say. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? You don't need to be able to do that at all. She goes, have a look into it and do it. So I ummed and ahed about it for ages. And then I did my yoga teacher training and thought, okay, I really can do this. And then I just thought, well, I'm loving yoga, I'm going to teach yoga. And it started off with just teaching colleagues in the NHS. And then that just grew and grew, really. And all the time, I think as well, I was healing. So every time I did the yoga, I was learning about my nervous system. I was relaxing my nervous system. I was becoming calmer. I was finding who I was.
Brilliant.
And then I thought, I might push this a little bit further. I thought, I'd really like to be a yoga therapist. So from yoga therapy, I researched all the different courses that there are. And I joined a course in London. So this was coming up 3 years ago to train as a yoga therapist. And it was during my yoga therapy that I really learned about breathwork, or pranayama as we call it in yoga.
Yeah.
And whoa, that blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. And it was the same sort of time as James Nestor wrote his book, Patrick McKeown started talking about breathwork. They'd been talking about it for ages, but it was starting to hit more mainstream. And so then I thought, I think I'm one who kind of likes going on training courses.
Of course.
I love
a course.
So then I thought, I'd really like to go and train in breathwork with Patrick McKeown.
Oh, wow.
So he's Oxygen Advantage. So I hopped on a plane to Ireland, and went to his kind of training centre in the west of Ireland and trained to be an advanced oxygen instructor.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Cool.
And so I guess that's where I am now. I'm offering wellbeing services in the form of yoga, breath work, meditation, as a kind of holistic complement to all the other healthcare people have. And I guess to prefix as well is that I'm really not against Western healthcare. No. Medication's there for a reason. But there's all these other things that you can do as well, which...
Empowering things as well.
Absolutely.
Which gives people power back.
Yes. Definitely.
For the journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is lovely.
If you have those tools, you can use them and you can really reach your full potential. And I think that's what I wasn't doing, partly because I didn't have the insight to realise, okay, so I don't have to feel like I do.
All the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
This season is all about life lessons. And we ask each of our guests, what advice would you give to your younger self? So your 10-year-old self, what would you like to go in and tell her?
Bless her.
Well, I think the first thing would be like, don't stress as much. But obviously, if you say that's not easy to someone who's anxious, you know. So really, I think to teach us some of the tools that I've learned in this last kind of decade or so, to actually say, well, do this and it will calm you.
Yeah.
And I think the tools that I've learned, the reason I really get on with them is because they're actually mind-body tools. So you do things with your body or with your breath, but it alters your mind and your way of thinking, and it alters your nervous system. Whereas I thought, I'm having all of these anxious thoughts, I need to think my way out of my anxiety. And that would just make it worse. So if someone could say to me at 10, well, actually, let's have a little stretch, let's have a little wiggle, let's just move. Maybe take a longer exhale. Yeah. Maybe breathe through your nose. I mean, that was a really big thing for me that I've really only learned in recent years. So I was always a mouth breather. I always had a bunged up nose. And I thought that was normal. I thought, well, I'll never be able to breathe through my nose. That's just the way I am. And then when I went on my training with Patrick McEwen, he talked about himself as a child, saying he was really anxious and he was a mouth breather. And actually he talked about the link with breathing through your mouth and anxiety. So maybe if when I was 10, someone had just said to me, see if you can breathe through your nose, that would have made a difference.
Absolutely. I think, Pen, something you're talking about as well is having the words these days to explain. Like when you were 10, me too, I didn't have the words to say, I'm chronically anxious.
No.
And I can't cope with stress at all. So I keep myself very safe because anything more just triggers me constantly.
Yeah.
How do you express that when there's no words?
You can't, can you? And I think we are in a different world now from when we were young. Good. People do talk about anxiety in school. They are taught about it. Kids will come home and say, I'm feeling anxious. They identify their emotions. But I also do think that it takes you to a little stage in life where you actually become a bit more introspective.
Yes.
And you actually notice your thought patterns, you notice how you are, and you compare to how other people may be reacting. And I think that helps. Yeah. So had I told my younger self at 10 to breathe through my nose and stop being anxious, I'd have probably just looked at me a bit funny and gone, oh, what are you talking about? This is just me.
Yeah, this is life.
This is life. Absolutely. So I think it is a growth as well that you go through. It is, life is a journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think if I could teach younger people the skills of gentle movement, breath work, mindfulness, to me that is so powerful. And I am trying to teach youngsters now, so I'm working with people who are doing their GCSEs and A-levels to do breath work with them, because obviously that's another time, if you're anxious anyway, put an exam in,
too big,
that's just gonna tip you over. So if I can just give them some skills, even if it's just to get them through these next few months,
just something to sort of flow with them. Anything that's I sort of feel that it's a good time in the world right now with mental health because there are so many tools. I feel personally that doesn't mean that's true, because there are so many ways that you can empower yourselves these days as a human to help.
Absolutely. I think what I'm passionate about is knowing that the tools that people are given are the ones that are evidence-based. Maybe not, you're not going to have huge randomized controlled trials on them, but to have a little bit of understanding and science behind them. And maybe that's my background as a doctor. I like a little bit of science behind it. There's one thing that throughout my life, people would say, oh, you're anxious, take a big breath. And I want to say to people, please don't take a big breath, because when you take a big inhale, that activates your fight and flight. Whereas actually what you want to do is take a long exhale, because that activates your rest and digest. And people are trying to help. They're going to say, oh, calm down, take a big breath. But actually that's not,
you.
It's not helping. So, it's little things like that I would just like to change
And it will, isn't it? Because people like you and your teachers and the books you read and the teachings, it filters, doesn't it? And it takes time, but it's lovely that we have this awareness. And children do come home from school these days sometimes and say, you can see them regulating their breathing, and you can see they have stuff that we never had.
Yeah.
So it is trickling in many ways and helping.
Absolutely.
And the more it helps, the more evidence or whatever we get that it's helping, or just observational. You can see often that people are changing, which is cool.
So for you, do you have some sort of daily routine or morning routine, or is this something that you do and you're like, I'm going to do this every day regardless because this is for my well-being?
So ideal world, I would get up, I would do my yoga and I'd do my breathing.
Nice.
Okay. I don't live in the ideal world.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Neither do any of us.
No,
we're all good.
So life takes over. I try every day to do some form of movement, some form of exercise. It might not be yoga, it might just be walking.
Yeah, that's good.
Getting out in the fresh air, all of that sort of thing.
Amazing.
If I have the time, yes, I would love to do yoga, and if I could do it and the weather permitted, that would be out in the garden.
Oh my gosh.
You know, that would just be lovely. My breathing, I think, is something I do every day. And I think now it has got to the point that it is second nature to me. So I've retrained the way I breathe. I breathe through my nose. And I will check in on myself all the time, or most of the time, and go, oh, close your mouth. Because I still do, you know, habit comes back.
Yeah.
But I will keep checking in on that. And I'm very aware of my inhale to my exhale ratio. So I might be in a meeting at work and I'll be making sure that actually I am having at least equal inhale to exhale so that I'm not ramping up that nervous system. You know, so I think my breath work is daily. If I've got a little bit of time, I love a bit of coherent breathing. So that's when you do really slow inhale and exhale, and actually that increases your heart rate variability, which is a marker of health. So, you know, if I could do 20 minutes of coherent breathing a day, that would just be lovely. So when I'm retired and no longer have all these stresses, it would be yoga, outside, gentle walk, breath work, all of that good stuff.
So outside is a beautiful tool. It's free, it's easy. Just going out for a little walk as well can help your nervous system in so many ways. So many beautiful tools that aren't hard. I think people think it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
I am feeling anxious. It must be hard for me not to, but there are absolutely beautiful ways that you'll enjoy and you'll want to do.
Yes.
You'll be like, I want to do this because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like the yoga, like the breath. They're beautiful things that are...
And walking as well.
Walking.
So, you know, walking outside is always my go-to.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling the stress levels rise, it's like, just get outside 20 minutes.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's whether it's just, I need to go to the shops, so let's just walk to the shops rather than take the car, have that fresh air, have daylight.
So important.
And that movement, and it just changes you.
It does.
Yeah. And it's nice that we've got these tools available to us, and they're so simple.
Yeah.
You know, walking is simple, movement is simple, breathing.
Yeah.
We have to breathe all the time.
Yeah.
So
let's
breathe in an effective way.
Absolutely.
That is helping us rather than hindering us.
Yeah, use it as a tool because it's there. Something we do, Pen, at the end of every sort of podcast is we ask people for an affirmation or an intention to help people on their wellness journey. Have you got any?
Okay, so...
Sorry, put you on the spot.
You have really put me on the spot. Yeah.
But because you probably have so many.
I think for me it is about just be, and that's kind of it's kind of quite vague, but sometimes we get caught up in so much stuff, and I just want to say, and the doing, and actually just be. And if you're feeling anxious, just be, just notice, just be mindful with that. If you're feeling stressed, just be. Don't necessarily try and change it, but just notice that that's what you're going through at that moment in time, and let it come and let it go.
It's really beautiful, and it's, you know, and I think the art of just being and doing nothing is. People have lost it. We've lost it because of technology, because of you know, screen time. We've always got something to look at, to engage in. And so not engaging is a real powerful tool, isn't it?
And it's not as scary as we think. Being with yourself is actually quite a cool thing, and you'll find out you're quite a cool being when you get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And what do they say? Ram Dass said, this too shall pass. Whatever feeling you're feeling right now, it'll go. It won't stay. It can't.
No.
You've had millions and billions of them before.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And lovely. Just be.
Yeah.
Just be is an amazing intention for the weeks ahead. Love that.
No. Thank you so much.
That was awesome. Beautiful. Lots of beautiful tools for you for your journey. Let us know what you think, and share and tag with friends. Cool.
And remember that you are awesome.
You
Today
are.
and always.
Absolutely.
Send in
Thank
love.
you, lovely. Send you love.